Word.
All right, so Patrick, talk to me a little bit more about the David story. We went into it a little bit the other day, but just from the top.
Okay.
You had a long convo with a student or a young person, and it kind of gave you a new outlook on what you were doing.
Yes. So I was speaking with David Elian, who is one of the Yes Scholars from the pilot cohort, and we're speaking at the end of his junior year of college. And we hadn't caught up in a few weeks. He'd been really busy with finals and end of the year, things like that. So yeah, it was the first time we'd caught up in about 4 weeks. And we ended up having a conversation for, as I remember it, almost 6 hours, which is the single longest conversation I've ever had with one of my scholars, one of the young people I've worked with through the Yes Initiative. Usually, it might be, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours at the longest. But yeah, we hadn't caught up in a while, and David played basketball through college, and we also went to the same college, so we were talking about some things to do with his program, but then also the Celtics were making a run in the NBA playoffs that year, so we were also talking just about the NBA playoffs and basketball in general. And I can't remember exactly how it came up, but at one point during the meeting or the call we were having, David mentioned to me why I was so impactful for him in his own thinking and his own process. And the way he framed it to me is, what you do is you allow me to be honest with myself so that I can then be honest with you. And even though I have good relationships with my parents, that's not something I'm able to do with them. I'm not able to be that frank or honest with them about my own shortcomings and things that I could be better at and things that I'm struggling with. And for me, in that moment is where it really crystallized for me that there is a huge role to be played in mentorship, because a lot of times as people, we can struggle with not wanting to disappoint the other people who are close to us and who are trying to help us get from point A to wherever we're trying to go. And so being a mentor in a way where I'm able to provide people like David with advice, but also still in a way where they feel comfortable telling me hey, this is where I'm not doing well, or here's a place that I'm really struggling, what do you think, or how can we find a solution, I realize is a huge part of the role I play as a mentor in what we do through the Yes Initiative.
Hi, I'm Patrick Gordon. This is me at about 10 months old. I was born on St. Patrick's Day, March 17, 1994. A fated coincidence because I'm named after my father, and I arrived 2 days past schedule. Both my parents are from Guyana. That's in South America, not somewhere in Africa. As a child, I used to sound out Guyana when adults tried to correct me to Ghana. I grew up with 4 brothers, all of whose names also start with P. Growing up, it was guaranteed my mom called 2 other P names before she got to yours. I had what I call a classical education as a youth, doing lots of experiential learning and exploring subjects not normally taught in American classrooms. My mother was determined we would all be more than talented athletes, getting exposure to and/or training in a variety of subjects, such as etiquette, children's choir, dictation and narration, homemaking, nature exploration, gardening, playing instruments, photography, reading Western classics as well as African American, and Caribbean classics, Latin, debate, geography, going to museums like the Museum of Science and national historical sites like the Freedom Trail. We even toured a water treatment facility one time. Good on moms, because I definitely fell in love with football at an early age. Soccer, as we refer to it in America. And if I wasn't otherwise inclined, I'm sure it would have been all I spent my time doing. My earliest football memory was the 2002 World Cup. I was 6 years old. Dad got a free cable trial for the month just so we could watch all the matches. My older brother Phil put all the matches on a calendar, and we had a World Cup table to fill out all the results. That year, the World Cup was dual hosted by Japan and South Korea. Because of the time difference, this meant the matches were starting early in the morning, as I remember at 5:30 or 6 a.m. My dad and two of my older brothers were committed to waking up to watch all the matches. The exposure to all the different countries, getting to see Brazil play for the first time, watching the US team go on a run, seeing Cameroon play. I was taken with the excitement in the game itself. Something shifted. Ever since that month, I just loved football. I ended up pursuing a serious career in high school, at one point transferring high schools to put myself in a better position to pursue playing in college. I spent 5 years in high school, winning the league 3 years and finishing in second place the other 2 years. My freshman year of college, we went to the Final Four of the NCAA Division III tournament. And 4 years later, I graduated with a degree in political economy. Now, I'm a visual artist and the founding director of the Youth Education and Sport Initiative. We like to say the YES Initiative, or YES for short. Here is the abbreviated overview. The YES Initiative is a nonprofit youth mentorship organization founded in 2018. We empower high school and college scholar athletes from undervalued backgrounds to be confident using human skills to overcome challenges. Our model begins with mentoring a core group of scholars to learn, develop, and test interventions. The next step is our current focus, scaling the results of refined programming to the wider target group of undervalued scholar athletes through partnerships with other nonprofits, school systems, and online platforms. The model is a feedback loop. In future years, we will form a second core cohort to test new interventions produced from youth reviews and mentor feedback, then repeat the process. YES strives to produce programs that fill the need for providing fun, creative, engaging, and rigorous youth experiences. Addressing gaps in mentorship and life skill development for undervalued youth are critical problems to address. With proper solutions, they will create more generational wealth, better healthcare outcomes, more land ownership, and higher levels of educational attainment in American communities. To learn more, you can scan the QR code on the left of the screen to view the YES overview. And you can scan the QR code on the right to check out the YES website. You can also keep watching. This will probably be the last baby picture I sneak in and make you suffer through, because now it's time for grown-up me to share with you my experience developing the YES Initiative. I prefer to be behind the lens, and I'm very self-critical. These were all nervous moments for me, putting myself on mic or camera and putting others on camera to speak about me. In this way, these are many of my rawest moments ever recorded. You can see my cracked lips, or maybe catch the nervousness in my voice. But you can't feel my clammy hands, or the turns and flips of my stomach. You can't see the sweat sticking to my shirt as I share a narrative few others know besides myself. Growth usually isn't comfortable, but I find it fun. And this uncomfortable experience of sharing my story with you is just another example of me receiving far more from YES than I ever could have imagined. These are my rubies. No matter what impression this leaves you with, I want you to remember the cardinal lesson of my story. Genuinely giving makes space and allows you to receive far more than you ever gave away.
Right, one more time. Tell me about the beginning story.
I'm home junior semester of college. I'm rehabbing a knee injury that I have. And one of the things I'm doing is the head coach of the middle school boys B soccer team at the Rivers School, and I'm assistant coaching with the high school team. Rivers School is a school in the same league as my high school, the Brooks School, and I was choosing between Brooks and Rivers when I transferred. And even though I didn't end up going to play for the Rivers coach, we stayed in touch during that period of time. And I was exploring what I wanted to do with my summer internship, the upcoming year at the end of junior year. And I was talking with him and his business partner, Alan, who ran a side business where they were doing college recruiting for potential college athletes while they're still in high school. So helping them navigate that, sports admissions decision-making process. and charging for it. And so after I had a meeting with Alan and presented, like my pitch about that process and what I would do if I was working with them, he was like, the conversation went something like this. And he said, look, I think your presentation was great. You could definitely do what we do. However, I've always been interested in the idea of figuring out a nonprofit model for what we do where we could support families and help families who can't pay for the services that we offer. I've never done something like that because personally, I'm just a white male who went to a NESCAC school and played soccer there. And so when it comes to some of the nuances of actually having experience with kids in this target group and understanding the types of things they go through, and not only things that have to do with like the financial aid process, but also like being Black kids navigating these different spaces, he's like, that's not something I have much experience with. However, someone like yourself, you've demonstrated to me that you definitely have knowledge of this process, but I also see through what you've done in your own life, getting into a school like Williams, I totally think you could do something like this and mentor kids like right now. So if you come to work for us this upcoming summer, what I'd love for you to focus on would be designing a nonprofit model for what we do. And in that conversation was the first time that I ever realized that my own story had value and that I could help other people with it too as a result of that if it's put together the right way. And in some ways, things have never been the same since that conversation.
So yeah, let's talk about the love of football, man.
Yes, I definitely had to think about how to answer this concisely, and I also wrote down a couple of notes when we were talking about this before that I may need to refer to. But I like to say that my love of football changed the trajectory of my life. And why it did that and how it did that is because purely pursuing something because I was a kid who fell in love with a game, it ended up leading me into spaces where I was also continuing to be pushed to develop in the ways that my parents had tried to develop me and my brothers in growing up, which was to be well-rounded human beings who had different things that we're interested in and have different passions and different experiences in our world. And so my mom, through her actions, but also would say growing up, she's like, I don't want my kids to just be athletes. I want you guys to see yourselves as people who are well-rounded people. So that was a huge way that it changed the trajectory of my life, because at the end of the day, it afforded me opportunities to places who are very great at providing those opportunities for you to be a well-rounded person and to allow you to grow in those ways as an individual. And if it wasn't for my skill playing soccer, those types of places just wouldn't have been accessible in the way that they were, especially being a student who required high amounts of financial aid based on the situation my family was in when I was growing up. You can stay there, it doesn't bother me. Okay, you said we're rolling, right?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Okay. One thing that I've really had to get comfortable with is trial and error. And as I was reflecting, I've reflected a lot in the last few years of running the Yes Initiative on my sports experiences. I've had to realize that I had been in systems which were very highly refined and defined at that point in which I came into them, and that's a large reason why they were so successful and why I was attracted to them. And so some of my coaches that I had who had actually built those systems had been through their own experiences with that trial and error to actually find a way of that system being consistently successful. And so I had to realize that I was also embarking on that journey, which they had also embarked on. When you try to build something from scratch, or building something that really no one's ever tried to build in this space before. And that means that you have to develop a new level of patience with yourself, because you're not going to be right a lot of the time, and you're going to have different things that are going to be difficult for you to figure out, and that's just a part of what it takes. But yeah, really had to grow up in that sense of being more comfortable with trial and error and not getting as caught up in some of those emotions, especially when you're used to being successful, but really focusing on what is happening and or what isn't happening, and actually dialing in better types of solutions. So, you know, your trial and error is actually leading you getting closer and closer to that right solution.
Alright, let's go get this dog out.
I like to define what I've been going through the last few years as the losing season. And that is something which I at least started terming for myself when I was looking at, you know, other great coaches and leaders and just some of their back history and story, and seeing that they all went through some period of time where things really just weren't working out in the way that they were wanting things to, or maybe the way that they were needing things to in that period of time. And a lot of how they move forward is why they are who they are today, and became people who became successful and names that we actually know. And so for me, one of maybe the biggest kernel in that was actually understanding why having a positive mindset is so important to your potential of reaching the goals that you've set for yourself and actually getting there. And the reason why is because when you keep a positive mindset, your brain is in a place to actually think of solutions that you are not going to think of when you're in a negative mindset. And it's that type of creativity and ingenuity that you can find through a positive mindset, especially when times are tough, and especially when you're not moving in the direction that you'd like to move in, that are how you actually overcome the challenges and or problems that are facing you. And so I've definitely had to embrace that losing season, because I went through very successful experiences when I was in high school and college. The high school I graduated from, the Brooks School, the 3 years that I was there, we won the league my senior year, and the 2 years before that, we finished in second. The high school I was at before that, Lexington Christian Academy, the 2 years I was there, we won the league back-to-back years. So in the 5 years that I was in high school, we won the league 3 times, and the other 2 years we finished in second. And then when I was in college, we went to the Final Four my freshman year when I was at Williams College. And so I had a lot of experiences I went through academically and athletically where the success was there. And a lot of that is definitely a product of the coaches who were there and them going through losing seasons previously and going through trial and error to actually highly define those systems. But yeah, it was definitely a really important period that I'm coming out of, but one where I also realized that what I learned through it and how to keep that positive mindset are important things for life, because life in a way is just dealing with the challenges and problems that you have. You may not always define it as like a losing season, and it can be things that come maybe more sporadically than an extended period of time, but having that mindset so you're knowing and you're able to actually put yourself in a place to overcome what you're facing is why it's there.
Cool. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how you got to making art.
So I'll start with the shorter version of that. It starts with practice what you preach, and also overlaps with the where Yes is as a business at that point in time. So during the first year of Yes, which is 2018 to 2019, as I'm mentoring our pilot cohort, which currently has 3 scholars in it at the time, you know, we're putting together things around socio-emotional learning as a part of the scholar goal planning matrix. And I'm looking at some of these things that I'm putting down for the youth, and one of the focuses at this point is making sure that we're building out the programming, which is having ways of them interacting and growing through life outside of being an athlete and outside of being an academic. So as I'm putting all this together, I'm realizing that I really need to be practicing what I'm starting to preach, because as I'm reflecting on my experiences through school, I'm realizing that the teachers and coaches and mentors who did that, that was the stickiest in terms of what they were telling me and helping to motivate me to also engage in those actions and activities, those ways of being. And around that time, so heading into the start of the next year, I make a vision board and I put art down as one section in there. And one of the things within art is taking photos at least once a week. And that is some of the overlap with where Yes is as a business, because at this point in time, we are raising some money and we're in a situation where we start to need media, and it's like, okay, we don't have enough to pay for hiring other people to do that media, but with some of the previous art background I have, I'm like, well, we do have enough, to buy some cameras and start ourselves, and I can, better increase my skill, and we can feed that into Yes with the need to produce media. And that just ended up exploding into me really doing both, starting to develop Yes Media, but then also producing art myself. And yeah, that's how all of that took off. And you could say that you really have to thank the youth and the Yes program for getting me into producing art as an adult.
My angle is only one point of view, one pool of reflection. As I sketched this out, I thought it would add more perspective to interview other people on what they think about me and what they think about the Yes Initiative. I intentionally used a range. Some people know me extremely well, others know me from more recent connections, and some in the middle. Let's hear what they have to say.
Absolutely. My name is Ronnie Brazan. I am a immigrant from Grenada. Came here when I was in 2011. I believe I was 9 at that time. I currently live in Boston, Massachusetts. Here in Boston, I work as a management trainee at Enterprise. I recently graduated college. I was pursuing a degree in finance, and I have an interest in real estate and sports and wellness. And that's just a little bit about myself.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mancuso, and I live in Jamaica Plain, but I grew up in Winthrop, Mass. I am kind of have my, I wear a lot of hats. First and foremost, I'm an event specialist, but I'm also a journalist, I'm a novelist, and I am a curator. Patrick and I met because he was doing a docu-series about one of the artists that I was curating a show for, and I didn't really get a sense of kind of how involved this docu-series was at the time. And so he came in, he shot some footage, and we really connected on our different projects.
Yes, Patrick, great guy. I met him my senior year of high school. Actually, I was playing soccer. I played soccer throughout my high school career, and I met Patrick at a Boys and Girls Club, like just pickup soccer game in Pittsfield. Actually, I approached him and I asked him, because I saw him, he had a Williams shirt on. Asked him, "Did you play soccer at Williams?" And because I was interested in pursuing a career in soccer, like collegiate soccer, and he did, and we kind of got talking, speaking about like my plans to progress and to play soccer in college or playing sports, because I did soccer, did track in high school, And from there, he was very helpful, decided to help me on with the mentor program, which was Yes. It was a really great time, and he definitely taught me a lot of great experiences and introduced me to a lot of good people. I describe Patrick as a person that is always willing to listen to someone's, like, not, I wouldn't say issues, but someone's situation, and take time to really help them find solutions. Always that open ear, and someone that is very approachable and easy to talk to. And I think that's how we clicked in the first instance, because I described my situation, where I was and where my goals were, and he decided to provide some solutions of steps that can get me into that position. So he's been a really great mentor in that instance. So I've really appreciated that time that he's placed with me, like that relationship we built through all the years, and invested that time with me, because it's been very helpful.
I think we just assume that kids come up with the same, parental and guiding forces that allow them to succeed in life. And I'm a witness that isn't the case. My childhood was fraught with trauma, and I wound up in foster care. It was a situation that, luckily for me, I knew the family that was taking me in. They actually became foster parents so they could take me in. But that, having somebody who just supported you kind of unconditionally, who helped you fill out college applications, that helped you, that you could call if you had a fender bender with a friend, that would meet you at the police station, because of said accident. You don't realize what it's like to have that in your life until you don't have it, and then it appears. Because of the Yes Initiative, that is what that problem solving that I was talking about Patrick's, one of his biggest skill sets, to have him at the end of the line, or to have him as a text message away for somebody, in their older teens, early 20s, as alumni. I think that is an invaluable resource, and it's an immeasurable success for the kids who have it. And I am all about mentorship for those reasons.
Beautiful. And over the course of him mentoring you from that first year in high school and then through college as a part of the Yes Initiative, what are one or two things that are some moments that really stick out to you as very impactful for you in that mentorship relationship you've had with him?
Yes, I think like in the initial stages, when we first sat down, creating a plan for college, of like how I was gonna get, he helped me along with that college process. I know right after high school, I was kind of deciding where I was gonna go for college. Patrick invested a lot of time in setting up college tours and making sure that I knew what I was going into, how to approach athletic staff, as well as sending applications, and with a strong college essay helped me revise that. Throughout the time, and lessons that I've learned is holding myself accountable through a calendar and planning, making sure my time is time management was a big lesson that I've learned throughout the time. Patrick's been mentoring me, and the power of networking, how much people that you know increases your likelihood of becoming more successful. It's not like your network, it's your net worth. It's not your net worth, it's your net worth. Was a big lesson that was taught. I've been placed in many rooms with people that has helped me along through the way because of Patrick. One to mention was someone who mentored me for a few months, David Garfoli, who was really great. some great life coaching lessons, and that was a really appreciated connection made from Patrick.
My name is Darian Johnson. I'm the External Relations Director at Boston's Higher Ground. And my role is I oversee the strategy for finance, for fundraising and financing the organization. And I also am the local, state, and federal partners manager for the organization. So I'm making sure that we're talking to our legislators and letting them know the work that we do. I'm originally from Dorchester, Massachusetts. Also lived in Milton, Mass, where I did elementary, middle school, and high school. So I have that from the inner city, but also from the suburbs. And my values come from just seeing community become the best, community and individuals be the best versions of themselves. I think that is so important today, is making sure that we're passing on the buck, and we're also empowering everyone to be their best versions of themselves. So I'm so excited that the work that I do here at Higher Ground, and the work that I do outside of my job too, has always been centered around community organizing and supporting our fellow man and woman.
So hi, my name is Raquel Jeffrey. I am an entrepreneur, and I value community, I value authenticity, self-awareness, collaboration, and what I love about what I do is that I get to bring people from all different parts of the globe, different walks of life, and bringing them into one room. So I'm really good at curating and bringing people together. And I think that's my actual skill set, is not only strategy, but also bringing everyone together in one space.
What about bringing people together really lights you up?
Why I love bringing people together is that it always gives me a unique view on life and different points of views. And for me, I'm a forever learner. I never am satisfied with just saying, okay, this is what I know and finite. I believe in that when you bring people together, there's infinite possibilities. And it might sound cliche, but what I've realized in my career, some of the highest moments I've had is meeting individuals that know more than me or know a different angle than me, who've taught me different things, made me actually reframe what I believe or how I view the world. And that's just something that's so intangible that has so much value. When you shut yourself off to that, you really miss out on the depths of life and the way you can view the world.
What is your experience with Patrick? How do you know him?
Patrick is truly an artist, not just by what he does, but by how he brings together individuals, community together. You know, one of the things I always talk about is that creatives not only create physically the art and the art in the history here in the city of Boston, but they also create safe spaces for our community to come in and enjoy, whether that's culture, whether that's recreation. And that's something so beautiful. And Patrick and I got together because we were at a Kings Amongst King event here in Boston. And he came up to me and said, hey, you're building, I'm building. How do we find synergy? And I think that is the true essence of our city, is that when we can collaborate with one another, there's nothing that we can't do. We can't just be in silos, not now, never. And so I'm so excited that not only that he came to my life, but we've been able to really have meaningful conversations, discussion of how we want to see the city thrive and what the future of Boston and beyond looks like.
Why I support Yes is it's so simple. It's the fact that Patrick has created products and solutions for students and done it in such a way that is practical, that gives them life skill sets that they'll have for the rest of their life. A lot of the products that have been built by the Yes Initiative are actual products that I wish I had when I was a student at university. And I will tell you, working in some of the biggest banks, working in Big Four consulting, pitching, being on stages in Paris and in Boston, the things that he's teaching these students, these student scholars and athletes that need these skill sets, are soft and hard skills that will carry on for the rest of their life. And when he told me how he was structuring the Yes Initiative and the different layers to it, right? Another thing is, there's so many layers and complexity to it, and how he helps students grow and these athletes grow into the best versions of themselves, and also just to see how these students, their whole life lights up. They feel like they're important, they feel like they're being valued, they're given media assets, they're able to share their voice with the world around them. That's something that I never had an opportunity that I was given, and I want to ensure that I'm able to give that working with Patrick to student athletes who are across different universities and making sure that they have that access.
Yes, doesn't say, well, because this person did well in school, or that this person lives in this area, they deserve these resources. Yes is about development of children. No matter you're the 4.0 student in high school to the student that maybe we're struggling a little bit because you had a lot of things happening in your life. Everyone has an opportunity to succeed, and Patrick makes sure he puts their story and their life at the front of development and growth. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the score you get, it's not about the placement where you go. We want to see you sustain, and we want you to stay here in Boston and Massachusetts. Why not? And it's when we have organizations that are committed to closing opportunity gaps, not only from the place of job placement, but it's also about mentorship and career development, and also developing your social cues too as well, and social skills. And Patrick is way and above and beyond, has made sure that children are going to be the best they can be here and stay here in Massachusetts, and also be able to give back to their community. And it doesn't, like I said again, it doesn't matter where you start, it's how you're going to finish. And Patrick's going to be right there along in the journey with you to make sure you are successful in wherever you decide to do.
My name is Kayla Thomas. I'm originally from Kennebunk, Maine. I went to Middlebury College in Middlebury, Vermont, and I currently work as a faculty assistant at Harvard Business School.
What is your experience with Patrick? How do you know him, and how would you describe him?
Yeah, so Patrick, I would consider to be one of my mentors. I met him through a fellow colleague at the Dance Complex, which is another creative space, and I actually didn't meet Patrick as necessarily a creative, but more so as somebody with a business trajectory that's very similar to mine in terms of what he does with Yes as the executive director. And so could you say the question just one more time so I can?
Yeah. What is it about Patrick and how he mentors you that is impactful and or helpful for you? And in general, why do you think mentorship is important?
Yeah, so he's a shameless connector. He always has an idea of something to try or do next, and I think that's really important, since I think when you're working on your own project, sometimes you get stuck in, oh, I've already tried this or I've already looked into that, but I think having fresh eyes from somebody who's also mission aligned is really important.
What do you want to say right now to encourage others to support Yes?
Please, and I say this in the nicest way possible, please provide funding. We need funding for us to continue doing what we're doing. And it might be the smallest donation of $10, $20, but you have no idea how that, even the smallest donation to the largest donation helps. Yes, we know right now with the current environment, what is going on. Things are being defunded left and right. People are having to squeeze their pockets. Grants are going down. And it's just causing a lot of tension. And it's interesting because actually we have the power to decide how things move forward, especially in the education space and especially for people of color. And so I know as a collective, we are very strong, but we have to come together. And so for me, time is one thing, but if I'm being honest, the funding is what's needed right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I didn't get to interview everyone that I wanted to, and I believe that has to do with what this process meant for me. I learned that I struggle to shine the spotlight on myself if I'm standing in it alone. And I think a part of me pulled back from doing that more. Maybe out of a need to process what I've already heard. Maybe out of a fear of my own power. I don't build the Yes Initiative in hopes of praise or adulation. I build Yes because when I started to prepare to leave college, of all the things I could do, I knew without a doubt this was the right thing to do. A year shy of a decade later, that hasn't changed. Something I noticed my dad say as I got older. Everyone in America likes to talk about their rights. No one likes to talk about their responsibilities. I've always seen yes as a responsibility, but in finishing this documentary, I realized it is also a right. It is the right thing to do. Born out of the most simple fact of humanity, we need each other. The training of my education at highly selective schools kicks in my brain that now is the time to give a resounding, impactful, and in this age, ChatGPT-inspired ask for support of the YES Initiative. I'm not going to do that, not because I'm against it, or because raising money isn't a constant struggle for our organization. It's because my gut instinct directs me differently. I genuinely care about making a positive impact, so in my final words, I want it to be clear that this visual is here to inspire you. I won't say don't be afraid, because the truth is you will. You will be afraid to chase your dreams, to believe in yourself, to trust others knowing you're not a surefire judge of character. You will be afraid that you will give and others won't give back. You'll be afraid of all this and more. Do it anyways. We aren't defined by what we fear. We are defined by how we act in the moments we feel fear, how we respond when times are difficult, how we care when we don't feel like caring. We are defined by how we cherish the ability to give love and respect how life returns more love than we initially gave. To end our journey together in this visual experience, I have an excerpt from a narrative I wrote for YES in 2018, the earliest days of the organization and me finding my feet telling this story. I hope it feels like a great book ending. You know, the ones that are so good they're bittersweet, and that sweet part inevitably pulls you back for more. The excerpt begins with this title, Section C, What YES Started. I don't believe YES has started anything. I believe YES is evolving a process. It is another chapter in a story. That story is one within the canon of the American dream. It is a story about parents and mentors who taught lessons about life through sport, education, and art. It is a complex story, interweaving many paths and experiences from persons of all walks of life. At its most empirical, it is a story about a group of mentors teaching kids that our greatest ability as human beings is our capacity to love and help each other live life. When it is all said and done, and you are alone with your thoughts, your relationships with others, you realize the experiences that build deep bonds last beyond a perfect season, beyond an A+ on a senior group thesis, beyond winning the MVP award, beyond valedictorian. Those bonds will be some of your most special memories. They define success as true kinship with fellow community members. YES is continuing that process, empowering youth, contributing our gifts, sharing our experiences, pursuing our passion to give back. YES is connecting youth with mentors who teach, building community. YES is a part of something much bigger than meets the eye. Sport holds a unique and special role in the fabric of American culture. The reintroduction of social justice into the society of American sport through Colin Kaepernick is now asking questions of my generation. What kind of communities will we build? YES is our answer to that, what we see happening in our America.